the day. Quiet, please, so we can get started. Today, we have to finish up the stuff we kind of started with radical reconstruction in the KKK. And just like I talked about the other day, when we have talked about the Ku Klux Klan and radical reconstruction, it takes a fair amount of maturity to be able to discuss these things and understand that they're a real part of history that should be discussed. We can't gloss over the ugly parts of history. We have to talk about the ugly stuff along with the good stuff and the positives. And the fact that for the most part we've overcome a lot of the stupidity that is our past, though some of it still exists today. And I'll kind of give you a demonstration of some of that too. So a lot of today is super stupid simple stuff, but it's also, I think, necessary to remind us that it's out there. And we can kind of see glimpses, actually kind of vibrant glimpses of stupidity and racism within our country and our culture today as we turn on the news and we see these protests of people just hating on each other. And fortunately, at least among you guys, I don't see that very often. Sure, we have some differences, but I don't see people in here that are picking on other people because they're go to a different church or because they might be odd. And maybe that happens. Sure, we pick on Will a little bit, but he is odd. So, but it's I'm just teasing when I do that. But it's a different kind of picking on. It's you know, if Will was really hurt by it, I think that most of us would be smart enough to stop. And that's kind of the difference here, you know. And people pick on me all the time in good fun, but if you pick on me, you know I'm going to give it back. So there's a difference between that and hatred for a group of people just because they're different, or hatred for a group of people because they believe in a different church or a different religion. So that's where we're going with that, and we might get as far as the end of Reconstruction, but I do want to shut down the notes version of class early enough to give you time to work on a worksheet. So you're going to get a crossword puzzle worksheet. I want you doing it by yourself, so it's not group work. And you can use your notes, you can use whatever resources you need, but you should be able to get it done in time for class on Thursday. So, or for the Wednesday kids watching this video, you should be able to get this done on time for class on Friday. So do next class period, crossword puzzle worksheet. So radical racism or radical reconstruction and the KKK, end of Reconstruction today, hopefully moving right along in this chapter. And then we'll talk on the next class period about how we're going to finish up this chapter and what we have left. Counting today, I believe there's 12 days of school left, or if you're in class on Wednesday, 11 days, which means we're only together maybe 5 or 6 more times in that last day. I don't know what we're doing for sure, but it's not going to be anything tough. So I wouldn't even count it as necessarily a class day. I don't know for sure what we're doing. Probably something as a group, but maybe not. Even if we're doing something, it likely won't be taking a test or anything because that's too difficult on the last day of school. So really, we're running out of time, which is good. We're all looking forward to a nice summer break, but it's bad because, you know, Finn's probably going to cry every day that he doesn't get to see me.
Every other day.
Andrew asked me the other day if he can move into my spare room, and I'm like, no. So he's going to be a mess too. But yeah, in my class every other day, but you see me in the hallway, my bright, shiny smiley face. So, you know, Hannah's about to cry right now. She's like, I'm going to miss 8th grade so much. But you're going to see me next year standing in the hallway with my bright, smiley face. Okay, so let's go ahead and get crack-a-lacking on this stuff, because the quicker I can get through the stuff I want to get through, the quicker you can get your worksheet done. And if we kind of start running long and you notice, geez, Mr. Bellamy, there's not even 20 minutes left, then you should probably say something, because you guys know me, I sometimes forget where I'm at and what I'm doing, and I'll just keep going, and pretty soon you'll be out of time, and I promised you I'd give you some time to get some stuff done, so you might have to give me a heads up there. Anyway, so we did this already. I'm fairly certain we talked about this guy. Does this look familiar, guys?
Yeah.
And this guy called himself the Grand Wizard, and excuse me, got a froggy throat. In a little bit, I'll talk a little bit more about how the leadership of the Ku Klux Klan is structured. And almost everything about this, except for his violent hatred, is comical. You know, if you're going to create a club or an organization, are you really going to call your leader a wizard? Or the people below them dragons? Or we'll go into even some more silly stupidity of this organization. If you want to be taken seriously, and I assume that Nathan Bedford Forrest intended for the KKK to be taken deadly seriously, then you'd think that you'd come up with a name for your organization that was a little bit more serious than wizards and dragons, cyclopses, and andrews. But regardless, it's an interesting story. So we're going to go into more detail, and then we'll also do some comparisons between what the Klan might kind of look like today. So when we look at the membership, the highest membership of the KKK was 4 million in the 1920s. 4 million Americans. The population of the United States at the time of World War I, so that's close to this time period, about 1918, was just over 100 million. So 4% of the population of America were violent radical racists. That would mean that of the population of 8th graders, there's just over 150 of you. That would mean that 6 of you would have fallen into that category. Now, you guys all probably know somebody that's kind of a hater and maybe has a little bit of a racist tendency, but I don't think any of you know anybody that's willing to kill for their racist or their bigoted ideologies. And I hope that's not the case, that you even know anybody, but I have a feeling that it still exists here to an extent. Not the kind of extent that you're wearing white robes and hoods, but it fears me. I always worry about that. So I hope the number is 0, but I'm sure that there's not 6 of you that are haters. And remember, when I say this, the KKK isn't just anti-black, it's anti-everything. Catholics and Jews and anybody that's not them, anybody that's not white. So when we talk about membership of these things, you know, we see spikes when there's large numbers of foreign immigrants. So if that's the case, what do you think has happened to the KKK that still exists today? A student says it got bigger. Why do you think it got bigger? A lot of illegal immigrants coming into the country, probably stoking some of those fires of hatred. Now, there is a difference between hating on people for coming into the country illegally and wanting to act like the KKK when there's immigrants coming into the country illegally, and not liking the idea of illegal immigrants coming into the country. You're not a radical racist just because you think that there should be a process and immigrants that want into the country should go through that process. That doesn't make you an awful, evil, horrible person. But if you want to kill them all, then maybe it does. So I think probably if we were to extend this and look at what's going on now, we would see an issue. So when we talk about membership of the KKK, I found a couple of websites, and did I tell you guys a story about how I almost got in a lot of trouble? Because, this morning I was doing some Google searching, so if the boss shows up in my classroom, you guys will be like, oh, and I get dragged out of here by my hair. Thanks for laughing. I don't really have any hair. My ear hairs maybe pull me out of here. So, I don't think that'll happen anyway because I was on good websites, but I thought, let's know about our state a little bit. Highest number of Nebraskans that I found on the internet that were ever in memberships, this isn't today, but ever in memberships of the KKK was somewhere between 5,000 and 8,000. Membership of the Ku Klux Klan today across the country, somewhere between 45,000 and 60,000. So that means it's actually a rather pretty tiny group compared to lots of other groups that have a lot of power. So it's not that big of a thing. But it's still prominent. It's still in the news. In the election of 2016, the leader of the Ku Klux Klan, so the Grand Wizard at that time, was a man named David Duke. So this is 8 years ago. And he had an impact on the presidential election of 2016 in a not good way. But David Duke came out, was interviewed on television, and he said, I throw all of the Klan's support behind Donald Trump for president. This is when Trump actually got elected in 2016. What do you think Donald Trump thought when the leader of the KKK endorsed him for president of the United States? Do you think Donald Trump wanted that endorsement? No. Now, if 8th graders across the country came out and said, we support Donald Trump for president of the United States, would he appreciate that endorsement? Yeah, you can't vote, but sure, he likes people that support him. But when you get the most radical racist, one of the most radical racist groups of people in the country that say, we like Donald Trump, that looks really bad for you. And he paid a price for that. He still won that election, but no, I don't want David Duke supporting me. I don't want to be seen with David Duke. I don't want to shake his hand. I want this guy as far away from me as possible because I want to be distanced from this awfulness. If I know evil people, I'm going to stay away from evil people because I don't want to get drawn into it. You guys deal with stuff like this, or you will, on a regular basis. If some of your friends start getting into stuff that they shouldn't be getting into, and you hang out with them, what's the automatic assumption? You do it too. That you're doing it too. Whether that's drugs or alcohol or anything like that. So you have to distance yourself from those people, even if they're your best friend now, and in 2 years they start making really bad mistakes and bad decisions. Sorry, I can't hang out with you if you're going to do those things. Because my mom and my teachers and my other friends all think that I'm doing them too. Even if you're not, the assumption is there. So you have to be kind of careful associating with this. But only about 50,000 Americans, which still is 50,000 too many, but hatred toward Jews and Catholics and blacks and organized labor. South Carolina was a hotspot for the KKK and probably still is today. So I told you that I did some quick research on where the KKK exists for us right now, or not for us, because I'm not in it. That sounded bad. I can't remember which website it is. I'm sorry. That's Nebraska Unclaimed Property. So check out this website. I found this KKK groups still active in these states, 2017. Now that's 7 years ago, but I'm going to assume it's similar-ish. In fact, it's probably slightly worse because since then we've seen a huge influx of immigrants into the country. But look at these. This is something you don't expect to see in 2017. But how about this? These are the states where the KKK is still active. 5 Klan groups in Mississippi, Alabama, Kentucky, Tennessee, Texas, Arkansas, Georgia, Maryland, Missouri, North Carolina, Virginia, West Virginia, Florida, Illinois, Louisiana, Maine, Michigan, New York, Ohio. Look at all those states that have the Ku Klux Klan invested in their states. Racism is evil, and those who cause violence in the name are criminals and thugs. Yes, that's what Donald Trump says after this idiot David Duke tries to support him. So, no, I don't want your support. Go away. It's sort of like if you're running for president and Will says, I got your back. No, I don't want Will on my side.
Okay.
He voted 5 times.
I know what you mean to.
We like Will's sister, though. Allie, she's nice.
What about Maggie?
Maggie's nice, too. Yeah. Will, you're a pretty good guy most of the time.
Shut up, Gal.
It's that thing where you eat your own boogers. That's kind of weird.
I don't do that.
Anyway.
That's just Drake. He is hungry sometimes.
Who gets hungry?
Drake.
Planning, South Carolina still holds recruitment events 3 times a year. How about this? their motto. So if the KKK in South Carolina is making T-shirts, if it ain't white, it ain't right. Can you imagine? I just don't get it. I can't put myself in the mindset. Usually in history I can. I can think, oh, what if it was like being a British soldier in the American Revolution? Usually I can think that way. I can't with the KKK because I can't wrap my brain around hating people enough that I commit any of my life to it. All of us have people in our world that we probably dislike a little bit, but don't hate them. Maybe you're jealous of them. You know, I look at all of the guys in here, and everyone in here is a little jealous of my good looks. Wish you could be this handsome, but not everyone can pull it off, right, Andrew? Saw your sister last night at the honors convocation. Nice of you to be there to support her.
You were forced to go, weren't you?
No, I didn't.
He didn't go,
No.
but neither did Tannen, so I'm not going to say anything. They attacked African Americans and white Republicans. Again, part of their goal was to keep Republicans from voting. In 1871, the KKK act was established, which allowed military force to be used against the Ku Klux Klan, which is really, really rare in this country to see the United States military used to suppress groups of Americans. But again, we've talked about this briefly before. In our country, it isn't against the law to hate, it is against the law to act on that hatred. So if there are chapters of the KKK that want to get together and have coffee and eat donuts and hate on people, they're not breaking the law just by hating. If they act on their hatred and they start taking the rights away from some people, then it is against the law. So it's kind of a first, especially that early in our history when we see that. But look at even the poster here, the Klansman standing behind Uncle Sam. Uncle Sam is like the heart of America. That's as American as it gets. And they're trying to portray themselves as being uber patriotic. Support us and you're supporting America. What a bunch of doofuses. The Klan in Ohio. So, lynching people. This has to be sort of, I've told you before about an image that my grandmother remembers from being a little girl when the Ku Klux Klan was in Lexington, Nebraska in the 1920s, maybe the early 1930s. And burning a cross in a field across from the street from their house. I don't know what the purpose of the cross burning is. Probably could have done some research on that. Because they're not necessarily anti-religious, but burning a cross as part of their ceremonies, I don't know, just a nice bonfire would seem good enough. We don't need to burn a cross. But how about this doofus, probably the leader of this small clan, who actually hides the identity of his horse. I guess that might be kind of important if you're really trying to hide your identity, because horses probably are recognizable too. Some of you are probably horse people and you know the difference from one horse to another. I don't, unless there's like a black horse and a white horse and a gray horse. Any of you have a horse? No horse people in here? Really?
There's like one person that has a hat on.
That guy with no hat on? That doofus probably forgot it. You know? It's like when you show up at football practice, how often is there one guy on the team that's missing a knee pad? You know? It's like, oops, don't tell coach, right?
Die.
Oh, well, I'll go to the Klan meeting anyway without my hat. How about these guys? If anybody needs a hug, it's these haters, right? So, yeah, I guess it's maybe appropriate that they're standing. Don't misunderstand when I'm laughing and making fun of these clowns that I'm accepting of this. This is my way of being defensive, I guess, a little bit, because I do not understand this. The scariness of it, though, the creepiness of this. It wouldn't even have to be a black person or a Jew or a Catholic to be scared of this. If I saw this mob of people that have no personal identity, they all just look like a cartoon. In fact, if you didn't know what this represented, you would probably think it was a comical cartoon. They look like little minions, right? What's that cartoon with the little yellow guys? What?
Yeah, they look like Despicable Me, except those guys are all good guys. If you didn't know these guys are horrible and evil and rotten, you probably would think, oh, aren't they cute? They look like little Q-tips.
Yeah, but they're burning a cross.
Yeah, the cross burning in the back, it's kind of hard to get away from that. But they look like you want to pick them up and stick them in your ear and get the earwax out. I don't know. Awful, though. But we see, flyers being passed out. This is a membership application for, I guess it doesn't say where, the Loyal White Knights of the Ku Klux Klan. Beware, we want your jobs, we want your homes, we want your country. Anybody that's a hater always accuses the people that they hate of taking advantage of those that are hated, that aren't hated. I don't know, I'm confused by that myself. So it's somebody else's fault. Anytime anybody gets in trouble, there's two different types of people. Yep, I did it and I'm sorry. The other type, I did it because someone else did it too. Or I did it because I thought it was okay. We like to blame other people for our problems. So it's easier if we're having tough times to blame someone else for our tough times. If I lost my job, it's not because I'm a horrible teacher and I'm an idiot. It's because Hallie's a bad student and she got an F and it made me look bad. Somebody else's fault all the time. Just take responsibility when you do something stupid. Don't blame everybody else. Women in the Ku Klux Klan, so it's not just a man thing. How about you're standing at a parade and you see a float go by for the Ku Klux Klan? Illegal? No, they're expressing their freedom of speech by doing this until they take away somebody else's rights. I'm gonna guess that if you're sitting at the Blair Parade, what's the Blair Parade called? Thank you, Gateway to the West Parade. I'm gonna guess they wouldn't allow this float into the Gateway to the West Parade because they can pick and choose. Well, you could have legal issues if you turn one away, as long as they're not taking away someone else's rights. But that it's part of the greatness of this country and it's part of the rottenness of this country at the same time, is that good guys' rights are protected the same as bad guys' rights. Which seems kind of ridiculous, but it is true. This is maybe even sadder. Sometimes the leadership of the KKK didn't wear white robes that were different colors. But look, this doofus brought in his children. Probably this guy's wife and his two little kids. So the teaching of this hatred really, really early on. And probably pretty easy. Whether you guys like to admit it or not, many of you think like your parents. And most of you would like to say, no, I'm not at all like my parents. But the reality of it is, the first political party that you vote for when you turn 18 is probably going to be the same as your parents. It's where you learn your beginnings of your ideologies, whether that's hatred or whether that's being a Republican or being a Democrat. That's where you get it from. And then as you grow older and you start to see the impacts of those things on your life, then you begin to change and alter. Again, it's always been my goal throughout the whole year to not influence your opinions when it comes to things like politics. And I hope I haven't done that, because I want you to be individual thinkers. But you are influenced by your parents. You are influenced by your teachers. You are influenced by your friends. So if all your friends are members of the Klan, you're probably going to be too. If your parents and all of your friends are Democrats, you're probably going to be too, even when you don't know what the heck that means. Because you just make some assumptions. Dad knows, Dad's a smart guy. If you don't believe it now, at some point in your life you have believed that your parents are the smartest humans on the planet. And most of you acknowledge right now that your parents are pretty bright, which is good. You should. Most of your parents are. What? Well, okay, so this is a legit question, right? At what age, and I don't know the answer to this, at what age is hatred a thing? Does a baby understand hatred? Does a 2-year-old understand hatred? Teenagers, I think, can. But I don't think little kids. they certainly can't make their own decisions. And whatever that baby is, he didn't choose to put that robe on, so that doesn't mean that that baby hates people. But it's ridiculous to imagine this. Here's the roles. The wizard is top, then the dragons, then the titans, and then the cyclopses. Probably read a lot of Harry Potter books. I don't even know if Harry Potter has those things in it. Wizards and dragons. Wizards for sure, right? Because Harry Potter's a wizard. But I don't think he's a member of the clan. I don't know if there's any dragons or titans or cyclopses, but what a bunch of weirdos. Here's a group of clansmen standing in front of a government office. Notice the security guard behind them. So if the KKK wanted to have a rally in front of the courthouse in Blair, probably they would have to get a permit to hold that rally, but I'll bet, and I don't know this for sure, that it would be given, but I'll bet they bring in some police or some security to make sure nothing gets out of hand. Because if we saw the KKK having a rally in our town, many of us that think the KKK is silly would probably be there in protest of the KKK. And anytime that happens, you end up with clashes. So, got to be kind of careful there. I don't even know, look at this guy. He's got like one of those signs on it where it says, don't drink the drain cleaner. That skull and crossbones. Something's poisonous. There's a march in the Capitol in 1928. At least those Klansmen were courageous enough to show their faces. Or Klansmen driving around, I don't know the year in this, but looking at the car, some of you that are car people could maybe put a guess on it. But if you're a Klansman driving around in a car with a noose, that's a rope with a, like for hanging off of your mirror. What do you think the black people in that community would do if they see this car driving around? Disappear, run away, because it's not safe. So, fear. Now, I don't know how well this would actually work, because Klansmen driving around with a robe and a hood, don't you think the car would be recognized? Or the license plate. I mean, if you guys see me driving downtown, half of you in here know what kind of car I drive. So you can see my car driving down the road. Hey, Mr. Bellamy. So that wouldn't work very well for most of us to hide our identity. Maybe they didn't care that much. Here we get more modern, but look at the Klan here. This is a Klan rally. It doesn't say where it's at, but notice they got the American flag, and right next to it, a Nazi flag. So we're making a connection between a group of Americans and Hitler people. A little more colorful, but modern Klansmen. This one I think is almost comical, and it demonstrates the stupidity of these people. This guy's burning a fiery cross in his front yard next to his trailer house. Now, look at how close that cross is to that man's house.
In the branch at the top.
He is putting it out, but at one point it was all burning, I'm assuming. If that thing falls over, and burning things tend to fall over, the dude's house burns down, which I guess would have been maybe justice, right? It's sort of like if you have your buddies over and you light a burn pile, like you're having a bonfire with your friends over and roasting some s'mores, and you put it 6 feet away from the house. Mom and Dad are probably not going to be very happy with that. But you are all smart enough to put the bonfire further away. We have one of those solo stoves. It can be right on the driveway. It's kind of nice. Anybody else have one of those? They're really nice, aren't they? Oh, for your deck. So you can roast marshmallows and sit there. Yeah, that's nice. Most of the time, the bonfires at my house get a little out of hand, and they're gigantic. But we're not burning crosses because we're not Klansmen. Okay. I'm going to show you this video. This takes a little while, and when this video is done, then I'll give you your worksheet. But this is a modern Klansman, and he is not at all afraid to show his identity. Notice his ignorance, his stupidity. But this is an ABC or NBC, whatever channel, I guess ABC News report
on this guy that's a Klansman today. This video is probably 7 or 8 years old, so not really today, but represents today. Oops.
So look inside the secret world of the KKK. For those of you who think burning crosses and hooded rallies are relics of the civil rights era, again, hate groups in America have doubled in the past decade, and it may surprise you who's among their ranks and what their agenda is inside the new KKK.
That's one. Left face. Forward march.
In a forest grove not far from the nation's capital,
For God. For God. For country. For country.
a group of men and women gather.
For race. For race. For clan. For clan.
As the light fades, they enact a ritual over a century old, but as fresh and searing as the flame they ignite.
It's been the fiery cross.
A cross on fire. They are known as the Invisible Empire for a reason. They thrive in secrecy, almost never permitting outsiders access. Who are they?
I could be your neighbor. You don't know who I am. You could think the world of me, but yet, if you see me in this hood, knew who I were, your whole thoughts could change.
I've been a fireman. I've been in the Navy.
The people wearing these robes walk among us.
If you want to be in the Klan, fight for the Klan. I fight for it 7 days a week.
Witness the Ku Klux Klan this summer
White power!
in Martinsville, Virginia.
White power!
And in Tupelo, Mississippi, a couple of weeks ago, a similar scene.
White power!
Over the past 4 months, Nightline has been granted rare access to the resurgent Klan. Their rituals, their people, their message of racial segregation.
If we do not protect our race and protect our people, they're going to destroy us. They're going to kill us.
To get to the heart of it, we headed south to meet the Grand Dragon of the Mississippi White Knights of the KKK. The Clavern made infamous in the film Mississippi Burning.
You don't even told one thing.
It's impossible not to think of what once happened here. The territory scarred by the battles of the Civil Rights era.
A Klan bomb ripped apart Birmingham 16th Street Baptist Church, killing 4 children attending Bible class.
So we're in Birmingham, Alabama. And just down here is the jail where Martin Luther King Jr. wrote the famous letter from a Birmingham jail. Along the way, we make a stop at the Southern Poverty Law Center, where Mark Potok and his colleagues have been fighting the KKK in courtrooms and classrooms for decades. Many of the Klan's people we've talked to say Barack Obama has been our single most effective recruiting tool in the last 4 or 5 years.
Well, I think there's some truth to that. Immediately after Obama was elected, we saw 2 of the largest hate websites in the country crash.
Potok told us that by the late 80s, the Klan had dwindled to a few hundred. They now number closer to 6,000. He believes they can be very dangerous.
It's dangerous, not so much because a whole bunch of Klansmen get together in a room and plan to blow up a federal building or to murder 1,000 people with a bomb. It's these kind of lone wolf characters that get frustrated with their leaders, that break away, one day walk out of their house and start shooting.
With that in mind, at a gas station outside of Tupelo, the Grand Dragon appeared. He is also known as Stephen Howard. 31 years old, he says he's an Iraq war veteran. He comes with a loaded pistol on his hip and tells me he's got serious PTSD. We agree to follow him to a remote location where cell phone service is spotty, next to a trailer by the woods. They ask us not to photograph Howard's 11-year-old daughter, but she is there, as is his wife Nicole, presiding over the food. Between eating and target practice, there's work to be done. Howard and his Klan brothers are preparing this 16-foot cross.
This is just torches. We use torches for the cross lighting itself. You have to wrap them and you have to put wire around them.
Klansmen, behold the fiery cross!
When we come back, the burning cross that's terrorized people for generations, and the frightening message the Klan is sending in the era of a black president.
Barack Obama don't care about us. He care about America.
The air reeks of kerosene.
That's what we call the Klan cologne.
We're at a KKK rally in the heart of Mississippi, a countryside still haunted by memories of lynchings and church bombings from decades ago. Liz Hartsfield remembers those days only too well. He witnessed a black man dragged through the streets.
They shot the man and they hanged him and then used his body for target practice so as to teach black folk a lesson.
That's what we're gonna need some help at.
But this is not the distant past. This is just last month in a secluded property in the woods where people have come to join the Grand Dragon Stephen Howard for what they call a cross lighting.
America is at turmoil, and we're lighting crosses, letting people know that America is at turmoil right now.
This Klansman, who asked we not show his face for fear he'd be fired from his job, starts to get ready for the evening's rituals.
But you're wearing the robes of traditional terrorists, of traditional haters.
That's just the outlook that they want to give you. That ain't true. Not everybody was like that.
So you think this is what a good Christian man does?
Yeah, this is our Christianity. Just plain and simple.
Howard says he's allowed us to come here to show us the new Klan is neither hate-filled nor violent. Yet what we heard and saw during our time with them suggests otherwise.
Black people and white people are nowhere related. In my opinion, I think black people evolved from animals. I believe that we need to be separated. And blacks need to be separated. I don't agree with race mixing. Let them set up their own state where they belong and give them their own homeland.
And if your daughter, when she got older, came home and said, I want to go out with a black boy,
I'd disown her. Wouldn't have nothing else to do with it for the rest of my life.
because of who she loved.
No, it's not love. If you love somebody of your own race.
Who decreed that?
God decreed that. Jesus decreed that.
I thought Jesus said love each other.
But Jesus said love your neighbor. But if you read the
As
Bible,
yourself. You know, there's an argument to be made that by our covering the Ku Klux Klan, their hand, we help them recruit. What do you make of that?
Every time you have a story on the front page of the local newspaper about a Klan rally or something along those lines, the Klan or that particular group does get a member or two. On the other hand, 99.9% people who read about that are essentially inoculated against them. I think more than it's helping in the end.
Back in Mississippi as night falls, Steve and his wife Nicole tell us something stunning about Steve's 11-year-old daughter, who is here for all of the night proceedings.
Your 11-year-old daughter has a brother? So she's 8. And she chose.
But do you think at 11 she can understand?
I think she understands more than most people. Children are very respected.
She has a beautiful room.
She wants to go out her day.
It's the first time I've actually robed up, so it's a little bit big on me.
And now it's time for all members of the group to robe up.
Yeah, Mom.
I've read in some of the literature that there are some people who think that if Barack Obama is reelected, the storm, something they call the storm, is going to come.
Oh, that's going to happen.
What's the
I
storm?
fear it. War. And he's going to start it. He's going to start it. I fear it. I feel it. I feel it coming on. And it ain't just me. It's just, it's going to be another war in this United States of America. If he gets elected back to office, it's going to happen. If he gets 4 more years, Barack Obama will ruin this country. And white people will be in concentration camps. And if you don't believe white people can't be in concentration camps, people sadly mistaken.
And his solution to avoid this supposed impending storm is an all-white South, where all blacks, Hispanics, and Jews are banned, given someplace else, he says, to live in America.
I want to make sure I understand you. If the goal is white separatism, separating the races, the only way to separate the races is using violence. You're not going to be able to just say nicely, please leave.
If they will peacefully go, then yeah. But if they won't peacefully go, that's the only way is through violence. It's through making them go. That's it.
And you'd be willing to be part of that. It's a race war you're talking about, essentially.
Very much so.
His hero and predecessor was a convicted murderer and former head of the Mississippi White Knights.
What do you think about Sam Bowers?
There's the greatest Klansman that ever lived.
Well, Sam Bowers was accused and convicted of murder.
I don't endorse murder.
What about other forms of violence?
I don't endorse murder.
I guess that means that other forms of violence may be okay.
You have to form your own opinion on that.
These words seem particularly ominous as the members line up, preparing to head into the woods to enact a tradition that has haunted the American consciousness for more than a century.
Klansmen, you accept the light?
Yes, sir.
The Grand Dragon, Stephen Howard, leads his fellow Klansmen in that notorious ceremony.
Klansmen, do you accept the light? Klansmen, do you accept the light?
I accept this light.
It is legal done here in the woods on private property. It is 10 years in federal prison if done on a black family's lawn to intimidate them.
Klansmen for Mississippi!
Mississippi!
Klansmen for America!
America!
Klansmen, behold the fiery cross, still brilliant. All the troubled history failed to quench its humble flame. Let me say that the cross is an inspiration, a sign of the Christian religion, a symbol of faith, hope, and love. We do not burn but light the cross to signify that Christ is the light of the world.
White power!
White power!
White power! White power!
As the fiery cross is reduced to a few sparking embers, the Clavern members leave the clearing and head back to the trailer.
I just want to ask you one other thing about the gun. You have it with you all the time?
Everywhere I go. See what? The U.S. government gave me that. I lost a lot of good friends of mine. Fight for this country for nothing. For nothing. All because of the U.S. government.
You're mad at the government.
Very mad at the government. I mean, yeah, I do. I got a lot of hate in me. A lot of hate for nothing. I got a lot of built up in me. A lot of hurt. A lot of hurt.
Pastor Hartsfield knows all about hurt.
It hurts deeply, and I struggled for a long time not to hate those people. That good will overcome evil. Right will overcome wrong.
On this night, you can only hope the pastor's right.
So the whole purpose in showing that video was to demonstrate the ignorance, and I think that guy does a pretty good job demonstrating plenty of ignorance in his belief system, and that it still exists, which should scare us all a little bit. And I guess it's a little bit older of a video than I thought if it was prior to President Obama's second election. And obviously the storm that he was talking about never came. So this is a really small minority of people, but be aware, they're out there. And don't be drawn into the stupidity that is hatred. It's not necessary anywhere. If there's somebody you don't like, just stay away from them. Anyway, I'm going to shut this down for today, and I'm going to hand out a worksheet that I would love for you to get crack-a-lackin' on right away. You can use your notes. If you need to, you can look ahead in your fill-in notes. There are some spaces that are empty, obviously, but it might help you a little bit. And that worksheet is due next class period, next time we meet.